out there that's looking for him, or a 49ers team, or a Seattle team, or a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, somewhere he can win and have an opportunity to be a champion. He's done everything else. I think when you hear the word released, the first thing people go, oh my God, they released J.J. Watt, the greatest player in Texans history. It's not that bad. It really isn't. It's a good thing for him, and it's a good thing for the organization that wants to blow things up and start fresh, considering that they probably are not going to have their franchise quarterback underneath the center for the 2021 season. So I like it. I like the move. I think it helps. It gives J.J. Watt an opportunity to go be a champion somewhere without having to worry about if they can trade him, trade value, all of those different things. He's got a couple years of football left in him. Why keep him at that defensive end position in Houston when the Texans probably aren't going anywhere?
Now, that's why I wanted to hear it from you first, Key, because that's not my first impression. I don't think that's going to be most people's first impressions. That's inside football stuff. Like, don't make this out as though, oh, more dysfunction on the Texans. This is actually par for the course. They're probably going to do this anyway. But it just looks bad. The optics, as the kids say nowadays, are bad for the Texans. Because if you have such beef with Deshaun Watson, who has a sterling reputation on and off the field of play as a winner, a champion, a leader, the face of a franchise, since college, right? He sprinkles his magic pixie dust everywhere, and everyone believes in themselves and they can win. The way he carries himself is the way you want your franchise quarterback to be. He's the envy of every team in the league, with the exception of maybe the Chiefs, who has a guy even better, right? When you poison the well to the point where this dude is saying, I want out no matter what, I'm not even going to return phone calls, you're not getting the benefit of the doubt. When something like this happens, people are going to say, oh, Andre Johnson says what he, or says publicly what he said. People are looking at that, whoa, J.J. Watt now is coming out. When he said, it's not simply like the news comes out. He tweets out directly, I want you to hear from me, everybody, the team released me. You know, that is shots fired by the greatest offensive player in their history, in Andre Johnson, and the greatest defensive player in their history, J.J. Watt. The signal that I am getting from everywhere, just stepping back as a football fan, is the greatest players in this franchise's history have a problem with this franchise. I think that's the way it's going to be interpreted today.
I think it'll be interpreted that way until you dive into it. It just makes sense for a guy like J.J. Watt to go on and continue to play football with the winner. Once Deshaun Watson is gone from the Texans, that team is not a playoff team. That team will not be any good at all. And then when you look at it, if I'm J.J. Watt, why do I want to be there anyway? I mean, the guy that gave us hope and opportunity and a chance to compete in the National Football League or be on another team somewhere. So I want to be able to take my skill set and my opportunity while I have a chance to win a championship somewhere else. In the Houston Texans, if you want to dig into it, they screwed everything up, because if Deshaun was still there, then J.J. Watt would still be there, which means that they would have an opportunity to compete.
Back it up some more. If DeAndre Hopkins was there. Yep. Like, it starts with DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. They traded his guy. Could you imagine Joe Montana finding out on ESPN somehow that they had traded Jerry Rice? Like, could you, you have Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins in their prime?
Well, clearly, Max, though, they screwed that up. We all kind of know. We're revisiting the history of this. We already know that Jack Easterby and Kyle McNair completely screwed everything up with the DeAndre Hopkins trade, along with Bill O'Brien, who was in charge at the time, with not having any conversations with Deshaun Watson. To figure out, here's so interesting, I tell people this all the time, if it was a money thing, you can always go to your quarterback and say, we have to redo you. Sure, yeah. Will you take a little bit less so we can keep your number one receiver? Clearly, it wasn't just a money thing. It was something deeper.
But look at the dominoes.
Organization.
Look at the dominoes and how they fell. Like, I didn't even include DeAndre Hopkins when I talked about the greatest players, offense and defense, in the franchise's history. It starts with DeAndre Hopkins. Then the next domino to fall, like you go, Andre Johnson says something. Deshaun Watson now wants out. J.J. Watt is not doing the team any favors when he's tweeting out to his fans directly, I want you to hear it from me. They released me. These are the best players ever in the franchise. And Key, you can tell me you have a better eye for this than just about anyone. How much does J.J. Watt have left? You say let him go to a winner. It seems to me like, obviously, he's not what he was when he was one of the greatest players who ever lived. seems to me like he can still play football.
Yeah, he's still a very valuable piece for somebody at the end spot because he can still rush the passer. He can still defend the run. 2 to 3 years, when you start to get up in age, at some point, yes, he's had some injuries over the last couple years, but there are teams out there, and this obviously news just broke, so I haven't had a chance to really look through the rosters. I'm just in the mindset, I'm thinking about teams that are competitive. Like if you take him, what if you took him and you put him with the Washington football team's defense? What would that defense look like? Or all of a sudden the Rams decided that they want to make a run at him, or Tampa Bay, or New Orleans, or Kansas City, or maybe Buffalo. So it's some teams out there that are in the mix for the 2021 playoff run into the 2022 Super Bowl season that J.J. Watt certainly would be targeted.
We see the history of the NFL. That's the one sport where just because you got a name brand, it doesn't really mean anything. Like we see name brands at the end of their careers go from team to team. But when you get a name brand who still has something in the tank, that can make all the difference. Look at playoff Lenny, Leonard Fournette, right? Like he was available for who wanted him. But it's not just that he was a name brand. He still had gas in the tank. It seems to me JJ still got gas in the tank.
He does. You can point to a lot of dudes. If you think about Clay Matthews Jr., he wound up going from Green Bay to the Rams because he had just enough gas left in the tank. You think about Talib, went from Denver to the Rams. Just enough gas left in the tank. And I think JJ, he's not on empty. He might be on a quarter to a half a tank, which is enough to get to a team and help them. Plus his veteran leadership.
Mm-hmm. Let me just ask you this really quickly, Max, unless you need to chime something else in here. Since entering the league in 2011, he has the second most sacks in the league, 101, only to Von Miller. But, Key, why we have you quickly before we move on here, where would you like to see Deshaun Watson go?
I'd like to see him at San Francisco, maybe. The 49ers, good defense, solid run game, young receivers. If the Jets somehow can pull off a massive trade, I wouldn't mind seeing him there, although I think Sam Darnold is very capable of being the quarterback there. I know they're not going to trade him to Indianapolis. That's not going to happen. The Washington football team could be a pretty sexy destination for him.
No.
Am I missing anything?
No, I would say I have an off-the-beaten-path suggestion that I brought up, a month ago or more. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'd love to see it. Mm-hmm. The Chicago Bears. I'll tell you why.
I don't want no parts of that. If I'm Deshaun, I want no parts of that.
I'll tell you why. And I understand. From the Bears' point of view, they have a chance to redo the mistake they made with Trubisky and get it right. They can take Deshaun now, right, if they could work it out. From Deshaun's point of view, Chicago is such a football-thirsty town. So they haven't won anything since the 85 team, right? The greatest team ever. In 1985 is the last time. And in my whole lifetime, Key, they've never had a great quarterback. So I'm just saying this. There may be better situations for the quarterback where he has more weapons. But if you win in Chicago, you're a different kind of icon.
Yeah, I'll take my chances in San Francisco if I'm Deshaun.
Yeah, and by the way, and another one is Miami. I don't know if you mentioned Miami, but they are already very good.